Don't you love when you can use scraps for fabulous cards? That's what we're going to do today. Today we're going to use scraps from the Take a Bow Designer Series paper. There are 4 different designs in here, double-sided of course, and you know how you're always creating cards and you end up having scraps. This is how I keep my scraps. I put them in a little cello envelope and I put them inside my Designer Series paper. The colors in this one are perfect for Christmas. We have garden green, mossy meadow, and real red with white. So we're going to use some small scraps today. So let me pull them all out here. I keep my big ones as long as they'll fit in here. That's what we use. I think I want to go for something that is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to pull out all of them that I see that are 1/2 inch, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do with them. And you always end up with lots that are very similar in size. And so you can do this, I'm using 1/2 inch, but you can also do it with different sized ones. So go ahead and pull out some of your DSP that you have, and let's see if you can't create something fun like this card. So we're making a Christmas card with this great paper, and I think that that's probably enough to pull in. I just keep everything right back in that envelope, and then we're going to pull in some fun cards. This is going to be an easel card too. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull in my basic white. And you can get all the measurements on my blog at designwithjo.ca, but we are going to just place these. I'm going to end up cutting some off. I don't want to have my same design show up more than once. So these are all going to be put one on top of the other. They're going to get smaller as we get to the top. What's the other side? That one will work great for that one. And we can either go green or we can go this guy here. Oh, I like the dots. Okay, so we're gonna go something like this, but I am gonna cut those off, and I'm just gonna use my paper snips. You don't need to pull out your paper trimmer for this. So we're gonna start with our biggest one at the bottom. Now I like using something that's a bit more solid at the bottom because then it grounds our tree. So we are making a Christmas tree. And this one's easy to cut on because I can see that star right there, and I'm just going to cut that. So there's our first one. Now our next one needs to be a little bit shorter. So it probably can go right about here. And then this one again. So get progressively shorter as you get closer to the top. But you don't want to go, you want to do that gradually. You don't want to just all of a sudden get really short. And I like using uneven numbers. So 3 or 5. You could do 3 here, but I sort of like 5. And we're going to go for just a little one at the top now. I might even have a piece already. This piece right here. And I don't have to cut into that one. I can use it for another one. Okay, so there's going to be our tree. So how easy is that, right? We're just going to glue that down. But we're going to turn this into an easel card. So I want to do a little bit more to it. So I'm going to glue those down first. I'm going to use my liquid glue, and I like liquid glue because then I can still move these things around. So I want to get this as straight as possible. I'm going to start at the bottom, again with my biggest piece. Just put a little bit of liquid glue on there, and it wants to be a little bit more straight, but it doesn't have to be completely straight. And you could stack these one right on top of the other too if you wanted, but I like that it has the space in between. And I have another design I want to show you that's going to look just a little bit different than this one. So make sure you stick around to the end so that you can see that too. Now you can use whatever paper you have. I like the real red and green. I'm going to put that one fairly straight as well, just to add a little bit of quietness to the card because you don't want to go completely crazy all over the place. Okay, so there's our tree. Now what we're going to do is we are going to stamp a couple items. So the stamp set we're going to use is decorative trees, and we are going to decorate just a couple things for our trees. So here we have our tree, and we could leave it just like this, but I want to ground it a little bit more, and I want to give it a star. So we're going to put this star on the top, and I'm going to use the 4U, which is a little bit of a block kind of shape, and that's going to be our base to our tree. So I pull those 2 in, the 4U first, and we're just going to stamp that down at the bottom so that you have your greeting down at the bottom and our star in our crushed curry at the top. And I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue on this one because I didn't get quite enough. So our next step is now to put that onto another piece of cardstock. So I'm picking out the Granny Apple Green that's in our trees, and I'm going to glue that down. And the measurements again are over on my blog, so head on over there and you can see lots of other great designs there too. And we're just going to glue this down. It has just a very little mat, and one of the reasons I use my liquid glue is so that when I put it on crooked like that, I still have a chance to wiggle it around and get it straight, because you do want these to be as straight as possible. So there's the front of our card. Now we're going to pull in just a piece of our Real Red, and we're going to turn this into an easel card, which is a really, really simple, fun fold. So we're going to use our scoring tool, and we're going to score it in two places. We're going to score it at 2 3/4, and give it a nice press with your cardstock being a little bit heavier, and then also at 5 1/2. Now the trick to this one is that we are not going to fold it in reverse fold. We are actually going to fold it into the middle for our card. Get out your bone folder and give it a nice crisp edge. And then what we're going to do, instead of folding it back on itself like we typically do for a reverse fold, this one is going to fold into the middle. So super simple, okay? And then we take our piece, I'm going to fold it flat again, and we're going to glue it on the front. But you have to make sure no glue here, no glue. So we're going to put glue down here. And remember, you are going to want to leave a little bit of a border there too, so you don't want your glue to go right to the very bottom. So what I normally do is I just put glue here, and that's usually pretty good for holding it in place. Then hold that down so it's flat and place it so it's in the middle as much as you can get it in the middle. Go. And let that set up for just a minute. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the inside. So I've cut another piece of that Designer Series paper, and it's going to go on the inside, glued all the way down. And I sort of like those diagonal stripes. Of course, the hardest part with Designer Series paper is that you don't really want to hide it. You want to use both sides, but there's lots of pieces in this particular package. I think as of right now, which is October 18th, it might not be available, but it'll be coming back in. So keep an eye out, because it's a great package because there are so many pieces that you get. There's only 4 different designs, 8 when you use both sides, and there are 48 different pieces of paper in there. So you get 12 of each one. Okay, so we've got our piece of white down. Now we have to turn it into an easel. And when it is an easel, we need to have is something for it to rest against, because right now this just sort of sits there. So we need to make something for it to rest against. So I need a piece of white. So I'm really using up scraps, because here's my piece of white. And again, we're going to use the Decorative Trees and A Very Merry Christmas. So we're going to use our Real Red and Granny Apple Green. So we're going to stamp our Granny Apple Green words here, and I'm going to put it this way. And then I'm going to cut that out with a punch. Now I want this to be as straight as possible. So if I got it onto my piece properly, I should have the same amount of distance on both sides. And you want to get it as straight as possible. Cut that out, and we're going to also cut out Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to create a mat around this. Now to do that, I'm just going to cut this in half. It doesn't have to be especially straight, and we're going to glue that down. And what I normally do is I put my glue onto the piece that I'm gluing it to, as opposed to the piece of white. So let's just glue that over top. Now you could choose to do the opposite sides if you want, but we are going to do top and bottom. Now your liquid glue is going to be a little bit wiggly here, so make sure once you put it down, just hold on to it to make sure you don't lose it or it doesn't move around. Because I've done that before and not been happy. And there's our bottom. So we've created a mat pretty much all the way around, except for this part right here. So we're going to take a piece of our glimmer paper. So this is the festive glimmer paper that is in our current mini catalog. It has granny apple green, cherry cobbler, and garden green. So we could really use any one of these in our card today, but because I have granny apple green here, I don't want to use that one. I might want to use the red, and the red is just going to go in behind like that. So I'm going to glue that in there as well. So these are just some sort of fun ways that you can add just a little bit of interest to the inside. So I can glue that down, and I'm going to cut it off as well. I'm going to cut it on a diagonal because I just want a little bit of that showing. You just cut it with your snips, and that's, oh, see, that's what you don't want to do. You want to make sure that it is nicely glued down before you start whipping it around. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just going to glue that down, but we have to use dimensionals because it needs to have a little bit of an edge to it. So when I put my dimensionals down, I'm going to put it so that it just covers over a tiny little overlap onto that glimmer paper. Just another assurance that that glimmer paper is going to stay in place. Okay, so I'm going to place this right in the middle, and I'm going to put it probably an inch up from the bottom. There we go. So that's the inside. Now I do have something a little bit different for the other one I'm going to show you, but we do need to put just a little bit of bling on here, I think. So the bling I've chosen is the Pecan Pie and Clear Ribboned Adhesive Back Dots. Great big long name, but these clear ones are really quite pretty because they've got a silver, they're white, but they have a silver stripe in them. And so I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and we're going to pick off a couple of those, and we're going to randomly put them onto our tree. So maybe one down here, and I'm going to use a mix of small and big as well. Over here. And let's just add one little one to the inside here. Okay, so there's your card. So a really cute card, super simple, made mostly with scraps, but I want to show you another option here using the exact same idea. So here's the one I made in advance. This one has a little bit more green showing and is on, instead of the colors that are in it, so instead of going granny apple green, I actually picked up old olive, and I used old olive, and it worked great. So if you don't have granny apple green or you don't have garden green, there's an option for you. And then on the inside of this one, I did something a little different. One, I used a different punch. And two, I also took the Mary, I stamped this twice and did it in a different color. And I just used a piece of cardstock on the back. So hopefully that's an idea that you will be able to use up all of those scraps and make a bunch of super great cards. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos, and head on over to my blog at designwithjo.ca and sign up for my email, and you will get a free gift when you do. Thanks very much. Have a great paper crafting day.